its agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. Tonight, we get to start off with a thank you for Brian's 7 years, 6 years, 6.5, 7 years of service. Woohoo! Thank you very much. And we also get to welcome Katie Binkler to the board tonight. So we will have we'll take a little break from the meeting at the moment and just have some refreshments and thank them for coming on. And
it's a Sevner-inspired
I saw
back
that.
there. It's beef jerky and all things non-carb. So
Go
back
back
and
to pretty
enjoy.
much any meeting I've been
Yeah.
here, and I would have beef jerky with me.
and if he didn't, we went out.
Yeah, they would actually call me
He's
out.
a,
I like
he's a
it.
hangry guy.
Yeah.
So join us. Okay, we will come back to the meeting, and we will then go to the administration of oath of office. I guess I don't know this one. And we have Matt doing that tonight, because Amy, our clerk, is also getting sworn in again.
Why don't you do right here?
We'll just go right, can we go right here?
You sure you can go over there? That works.
We'll have to have Lee follow us around.
There we go, okay.
I say your name,
I, Gina Schneider,
having been elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Random Lake,
having been elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Random Lake,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God. Woo! Back to Matt.
Oh.
Yep. Good job, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the election of the officers. So we have to open nominations and ask for nominations three times, and then we can close nominations, and these will be per office. We will do it per office. And then we'll have a secret ballot vote, and Kim has got us organized. We have colors and actually which position we're voting on. I don't know what happens if we need another one. We have to use just regular scrap, I guess. Okay, so we will open nominations for president. Are there any nominations for president?
I'll nominate you.
Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Are there any other nominations for president? And the last time, any other nominations for president? All right, we will close nominations, and we can vote on president on your salmon sheet. And we can pass that down here to Amy. You can just count them up and let us know what you get.
Seven votes for Gina.
All right, thank you very much. We'll do it again. Next, we will do vice president. Open nominations for vice president. Are there any nominations for vice president?
Nominate Matt.
Matt? Are there any other nominations for vice president? And one more time, other nominations for vice president? All right, we will close nominations, and you may vote for the yellow sheet this time.
Seven for Matt.
Great, congratulations. Next, we have treasurer. Open nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Chuck.
Chuck. Any other nominations for treasurer? One last time, nominations for treasurer. And we close nominations, and we're using the blue sheet. voting? What's going on?
No hanging chance.
7 for Chuck.
Woo. Good job, Chuck, congratulations.
Thank
New,
you.
new position for you.
Yeah.
Big shoes to
fulfill
fill.
Brian's shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, we will open nominations for clerk. Nominations for clerk.
I vote Amy.
Amy? Any other nominations for clerk? One more time. Nominations for clerk. And we'll close nominations. And we're using this tan color. And you,
Oh, yep.
we'll send them to Matt. He's practicing secretary now. You can't count your own, Amy.
And we have 7 for Amy.
All right, great, congratulations and thank you. All right, that takes us into approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of March 28th?
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris?
Sure.
Any questions, corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount of, what do we have, $979,133.35 for the month of March?
Make a motion.
Rini, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chuck, any questions or discussion?
Can I ask a question? Sorry, newbie. And so how much responsibility do we carry for this? Like, there's a lot of numbers in there, right? Are we supposed to be checking every single check that goes through?
I think.
haven't done the training yet, so maybe I'll say I'll find the answer.
I feel like, a lot of times, Rini goes through it with a sharp tooth comb, I know, but it's usually looking for anomalies, once you're looking at it and, cause a lot of it is repeat stuff that's on there. So, and then also, like, if you see like really large amounts that you're like, oh, things like that. And then, also, if you have questions that you wanna ask Mike or Patty ahead of time, feel free, that way they have the information, and then when we get to this point, and if there were questions regarding this, then they'll bring them up, or you as a board member would bring them up, and that way they have all the information ready.
I can go,
As Patty, you had something to say?
Just for point of reference, like all checks that are cut, go through an approval process. First all teachers or staff submit a PO, it gets approved by the administration before it gets paid. So we check over a couple of times before it does get into that approval for every single check.
But feel free when these come out, if you're going through and like, what does this mean, what is this, how much is that? That's what Patty and I are here for, during the meeting or even before the meeting, those are some things you can ask.
And Chuck,
I was just gonna say, from experience, I can tell you that Patty really appreciates not getting blindsided in the meeting. If you do have a concern, she's excellent at explaining it and, giving you all you need, and she can be better prepared than to answer.
Good question.
any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have the cash summary.
You can see we got our equalization aid and some other big checks, so it's kind of the big push here for the rest of the year. I know we have some other smaller income coming in the next few months, but yes, we should be set till after July 1st, actually, so.
Great. Any questions? All right, and then we have donation notifications.
All kinds of donations this month. So Donors Choose, again, 2 of our staff doing some great things with Donor Choose and getting things like books and science kits and all that other good stuff for the classroom. I think it was delivered just recently. I don't know, I don't see Natalie here. The our environmental classroom is done. If it's not here, it's being delivered shortly. And now we have to go and decorate. And how do you decorate an outdoor classroom except with like full-size bear and deer mounts and all that other good stuff? So Natalie has found some individuals that will be helping us decorate our outdoor classroom. That'll be back in our back 40 over there. And then we are really excited that the Booster Club has donated to esports, headsets, headset stands, and really cool gaming chairs, I hear. Did we get those chairs yet, Lee? You can see them over in the room there later on. So if we didn't have enough competitive advantage now we got the cool chairs to go with state championships and all that good stuff. So life is good there.
Great, that's exciting, thank you. We need to appoint board member to the CISA convention, which is a delegate and an alternate. Or no, wait a minute, that's WSB. We're doing CISA first. CISA is usually in Green Bay, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Is there anyone that would like to go to the CISA convention, which is on May 11th, 2022? Anybody available? I'm not sure, is it usually in the evening?
It is the evening, yes.
Afternoon, evening in Green Bay, and I don't know if it'll be virtual or not.
And I'll be honest, I'm not sure. There may be a hybrid option. I'm not sure who's the last one to go to this.
I went to one before COVID, I think, and because it was not virtual, it was like an hour long. It was not long at all, so it took more time to drive up there and back than the meeting.
I think Brian may have
It's
gone to the
interesting.
most recent.
Brian actually went to the WSAB before COVID. I was nominated to go to the last one. We made a conscious decision to
not
not
do
make
that
it.
one.
Yeah, yes. Well, I think you were gonna go along.
Right. But the CISA
That
one,
was cool.
I think Brian may have gone or attended virtually.
I think virtual too.
So does anybody want to sign up for that? No.
I have a conflict.
You put me down for it. I'll see once.
Okay,
For the CISA, we're talking, not the WS.
that's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. All right. So is there a motion to appoint Chuck?
Make a
We
motion.
pull his teeth out. Rainey, is there a second?
A second.
Chris? Is that Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussions or questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries? It's still gonna carry, Chuck, with or without you. All right, now the WASB. Sorry about that, I got that confused. So we need a delegate and an alternate, and this is January of 2023. Does anybody want to volunteer for that? It's usually a Wednesday afternoon.
And usually I offer to go down and then do lunch and kind of go into the convention.
I'll volunteer.
Matt? Okay. And is there an alternate? Anyone want to, in case Matt can't make it for whatever reason? Chris? Okay, great. Is there a motion to appoint Matt as the delegate and Chris as the alternate?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy?
It's really just a lunch, isn't it?
Any,
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it really is.
any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, comments from the public. All right, let's see, I have a list here. And Stacy is on the list first regarding referendum.
Got sheets for everybody.
Great?
Random Lake seems to think y'all have money trees somewhere because every time somebody speaks, we're looking for more money. And I get it. I get that there's facility needs. I understand that. But what I'm imploring of you is to take a look at this budget and decide, listen to the old Rolling Stone songs. You can't always get what you want. You get what you need. What in this budget, what in this referendum do you need, and what are the nice to haves? And what is the return on the investment going to be on those nice-to-haves? Back in October, there was a discussion that we might be merging football teams potentially in the future, possibly, with Ozaki. Is putting a artificial turf going to bring enough new people who are transferring into the village, or I'm sorry, into the school district who are doing school choice, or keeping enough that we don't lose people? Is that going to keep enough funding that way? And Dr. Trimberger knows I'm a big defender of the arts, but I'm going to attack the arts tonight. $800,000 for a band improvements, and the band can't even march in the Random Lake Firemen's Parade? Is that a want or is that a need? Maybe it's a need. Maybe there's going to be something and we need to blast out the band room and they're going to need something. It could be. But what I'm asking you to do is to really think about that, because if you take a look at the sheet that I just gave you, I went out and I sampled, as any good accountant would, from the Sheboygan Treasurer's website, and the Treasurer's website is down here for you. I sampled a property from each village in Sheboygan County. There is only one that's not a sample. It's the baseline, it's Random Lake, and that's my place. So what I did was I said, what is the school tax? And then I looked, there's two, if you look at your tax bill, there's two numbers. There's one that says assessment, and then there's one that is basically your fair market value. Why is that? Well, Howard's Grove might have last gone for assessment in 1985. Random Lake might have last gone for assessment in 1989. I don't know those, I just made those up. But what happens over time, right, and we're seeing a lot of it now, those houses are going way up. So this is kind of an equalization value, so that somebody who has a new home doesn't get penalized versus somebody who's got an 80-year-old home. So they basically look at what is being purchased in the community and they reset that. So I picked fair market value because that made things the most fair. I then came up with what is the percent of school tax to the fair market value. And then finally, over on the far right, what if you've got a house that has $150,000 fair market value? If you take a look, Random and Adel, the two villages served by Random Lake School Districts, are the top two right now. Howard's Grove is $69 less on a $150,000 house. Oostburg is $273 less on a $150,000 fair market value house. So are there needs? Yeah, I'm sure there are. I saw things in there that are from the 1990s, and somebody here tonight reminded me that was 30-some years ago. Thanks, Carla. But those things need to be replaced. But let's take a look. We are in a series of inflation, and let's take a look at that, and let's make sure that we're making the best foot forward. And then finally, the last thing, and it's probably in here, but I'm just not seeing it. I don't see any cushion or contingency for overruns, and that scares me too. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Next, we have Carla LaFever, prom and selection process.
So thank you for allowing me to come. I just asked that the board take a look at this new process. I guess it's 2 years old. I must have lost touch and didn't know the process changed, that you have to apply to be on courts. And I asked that it go back to the students and the students select the process. It's been that way. I thought maybe I was old and out of touch, so I decided to call every school in the Sheboygan County and find out, because I thought, maybe I'm just detached and don't know the process anymore. Nobody has this process, and so it needs to go back to the students. I think the students need to select their court. It's who they want on it. If you didn't want Trump as president, you didn't vote for him. And you can vote for yourself in that process, and so it's fair game for everybody, whether you're popular or not, to put yourself on court. And I don't think the teachers should pick. The role of the students is one thing. The teachers should make sure they have a safe event, and if they can't chaperone, then it needs to go back to us as parents to make sure they do have a safe event. But they should not have any process in the selection process of a court. Not homecoming, not prom. So I ask that it goes back to the students and it becomes a student-run program again. So thank you.
Thank you. Mike Sanfilippo, referendum.
So I can appreciate Stacy's stance and opinion on the referendum. But I want to talk to you about the football field. It's not just for football. If we put a turf field in, it can be used for soccer as well. If you guys remember 2 years ago, we had a home, boys soccer had a home tournament, or a home playoff game. We played it at Kohler because our field was too wet to play on. For the turf field, we don't have that problem. As a vice president of the soccer club, the biggest K through 8 participated club in Random Lake, we had to cancel games this weekend because we were rained out. So our one field was underwater. We were able to play on the turf field. We had to cancel those games. Right now, we have a football field that's used 8 games? Home games? Yeah.
We would have junior varsity.
And then we have junior Rams playing 1 night a week. It's only for a couple months. It's wasted space right now that could be used for a lot of other things. And a turf field would allow us to do that. I know there's an expense to it. I know it's expensive, but our kids do deserve better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chrissy Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, front row. I just looked right over you, sorry.
Happens a lot. All right, I'm also here to express my concern with this prom selection process. For the second year in a row, the message has been that the application process for prom court, which is a high school tradition, is designed to save her feelings. But however, I'm not sure how the junior boys are feeling this year. 3 were worthy of being chosen for court, and there were more that applied that are great kids, and we're not sure where this disconnect is coming in. So if this is the case, then there should have only been 3 girls to make it fair. But right as it stood, it was a ratio of 3 to 9. Well, 3 boys, 1 including my son, did not feel comfortable with that, and they are off. So now we have a prom court of 0 boys and 9 girls. This is kind of ridiculous, a little bit embarrassing when I explain it to friends and family. I feel that applications are for NHS, scholarships, jobs, not prom courts. This needs to be given back to the students and the children where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelley Hartman, prom.
Hi, I am also here to express my concerns about prom court. And if we're all of the adults in the room, and if we take ourselves back to our days of high school, I think we can all say prom was one of our most memorable experiences. And I think our kids, over the last few years, have gone through a lot, from being virtual, COVID, antisocial, not having a lot of incentives to work for. I mean, everything, if I put myself in their shoes, life was difficult for them. So now we are asking, which was a tradition for the last, I don't know, right? Forever, 2 classes behind what was normal. We're asking them to apply to be on court. We're asking them to not equally represent their class as far as boys and girls. My son was one of the students or boys that was elected, and I can tell you, he's my son, and I'm very happy. But there were other boys that were just as qualified, if not more. He's not in clubs. He plays 2 sports. He's a good student. And I think, if I'm being honest as a parent, he's a good writer. He's a good writer. And if that's what it takes for somebody to be on court, I don't know. I don't think we're doing these kids justice. That belongs on a scholarship application. So now we've taken what is supposed to be a memorable moment for these kids, and we're trying to do something that's incenting them. I don't see the incentive here. I'm asking that this be reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy? That's me. Oh.
Okay,
And prom
don't-
also.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm with them. I don't understand the process of 3 boys, 9 girls. I know they've been told they could ask someone else to be on court with them, but that just opens up a whole nother, I think, insecurity for them. Well, my friend asked someone, what if nobody goes with me? You know, I just don't think we need to put that pressure on them for something that's supposed to be fun.
Thank you. We do have a discussion for the board later on the agenda. That's item 18. So you guys want to hang around, and that is on the agenda tonight, so we will be discussing it. Then we have Jeff Turnus for referendum.
Yeah, Jeff Turnus, Random Lake Soccer Club, pretty much talking on behalf of them. And I do appreciate what Stacy says as well. I'm a pretty conservative person, but we are, I think, 8 years into the running of the soccer club, and I fully see the need of, number one, another gym, and number two, both could be number one, is a turf field. Our soccer field, complete embarrassment. We need something for our athletes, not just soccer, football, whatever, to feel and be able to call home. Going out to Kewaskum, an absolute beautiful field. They have a step up. They have an advantage over us because they can get out on that field early spring, not worry about the winter. We went up to Kiel and played on the turf up there, the girls did, because it snowed down here. How are we supposed to compete when everybody else is playing on the turf? We're in Wisconsin. We just have to be honest. So as long as this, and also green space. Green space around Random Lake is tough to get. If we can get a turf field, combined soccer, football field, frees up other green space on the property here, maybe make it a little more accessible to get to the back of the school. Kids doing stuff at the school, being active, our kids not getting in trouble. And I don't want to pay more taxes, but I will pay taxes for my small community to make this the heart of the community and a place for our kids to go and stay out of trouble. So I would say go for it as much as you can. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did anyone else not sign in that would like to speak tonight? All right, we'll take that if you have, sign in.
Matt can sign in.
Matt sign in for you.
Mr. Trimmerger has changed my mind, I would like to speak.
All right, well, go ahead, because you're on the list.
So, hi, my name is Cindy Reppius, and I was on prom court last year. The selection process for me, I thought it was okay at the time, but now that I'm hearing everybody's standpoints on it, I can understand why people want it to come back to the kids. And honestly, like, for me, I don't know if I would have gotten on court if the selection process would have been like how it was, but I don't agree with how there isn't an equal ratio to boys and girls. That didn't make sense to me, but other than that, I'm pretty much agreeing with everybody else, so, yeah.
All right, well, thank you. And Ryan? Okay.
I'm Ryan Knoll. I have 4 kids that were in the district. I'm here for the prom, also homecoming, same thing. Like it taken back to the way it was. I had a son on prom court, he was king. I had a daughter on court that was a queen. So we got to appreciate it the way it was. But it's not about that. When I grew up, I wasn't on court, and I survived. I think it should be back to the way it was. And that's life. If you don't get on, you don't get on, you survive. I just don't like this stuff, and my daughter was kind of against it. She voiced her opinion, and it really didn't matter on what the kids wanted, because the kids wanted it to be traditional. And I just don't feel it's fair. And there's other situations in school that stuff's getting rammed down their throat. And my son comes home constantly and says stuff that, which I'm not going to talk about now, but there's an agenda being pushed that I feel is not fair, and something needs to be done about it. If you want to be fair to everybody, this is not the way to do it, because you're excluding kids doing it this way too. You exclude kids either way, but I think you want to try to bring people back together. Just going back to the old way, I think people would enjoy it more, have more fun, and everybody's included. Everybody, you don't want to go? Don't go. It's real easy. But you're dividing stuff, and it's all with the unity flag. You want a unity flag in this school? Put up the United States flag, the Wisconsin state flag, and a random Rams flag. That's unity. That's everybody included, because that's what our community is. And I'm sorry I didn't have a better agenda or better speech. I just found this out at a baseball game a half hour ago. So I'd say take it back to the way it was and be like every other school. Because it's kind of embarrassing. I feel the way it is now.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to speak? All right, thank you. Next, we have the building reports, and that's Miss Sandy.
All right, under the category of strong classrooms, I am pleased to report that we have finished our state-required exams, both the ACT Aspire exam and the Forward exam. So testing festival is over for the spring. We had the opportunity in the last couple of weeks to welcome in the opera for the young. I do recognize some faces here who were able to attend. Miss Van Newlen, our elementary middle school music teacher, worked very diligently with our elementary kids, and they learned the opera Cinderella. So even though they weren't all on stage participants, we did feature our fourth graders. All of the kids sitting in the audience had their little mouse ears, and they were part of the opera, and they sang the entire opera with the opera company that was here. And we had such praise from the members of the opera company for the way our students acted, performed, and appreciated everything that was going on the stage. And it was a wonderful experience. I hope we never get to do it again next year. Reminder that registration for the 22-23 school year, I can't even believe 22-23, oh my God, is open, as is summer school registration. There are links available on the website for both. On April 18th, we had our final full day in service for the school year, and I'm happy to report that we are working on our power standards, finalizing those, getting ready to move forward so that our focus for each subject area is even more on target than it's ever been moving forward. With respect to our strong culture theme, kudos to our middle school. They are currently accepting sponsorship for a walk for Ukraine, and they've gotten quite a few nice sponsors coming in. So if you're interested, please contact the Heckman Middle School. We have had paraprofessional appreciation and library appreciation, and I should add that this week, Wednesday, is Administrative Assistant Appreciation Day. So we're appreciative. Everybody, there's so many people in this building that we could not do without, and I don't know if one day is enough to do all the appreciating that we need to do, so we have the appreciation film. Strong community connections. We do have our conservation fair. I believe it's the 4th annual conservation fair coming up this weekend on the 30th. Senior play. And thank you, Gary, for publishing the front page of the Sounder last week, the winners of the Distinguished Alumni Awards. I hope I'm doing Susan justice on this. I'm trying to do them all. Also some recognitions. These are some pretty awesome recognitions. Natalie Weeks has been recognized as a 2022 Herb Cole Educational Foundation Teacher Fellow. And this is the first year of the Eastern, Mike, help me on this
Eastern
one.
Wisconsin Excellence in Education.
It's right there. I think I could read it.
I had to read it too.
Eastern Wisconsin Excellence in
It's
Education
a
Award.
mouthful.
School districts in the eastern portion of Wisconsin were asked to nominate educators of all flavors for this initial year, and we are proud to have 2 award winners for the first year. Amber Harrigan, who is the elementary school counselor, and Dr. Trimberger, who is right there. The awards ceremony is in mid-May in Kiel. So we have representatives of our school too.
And for Mrs. Weeks, that's pretty exciting because every year we nominate individual, and this is the first one that got to the state level from our district, so we're really excited. And you can look around to everything going on from Saturday to our classroom in the back. You know, if she wasn't worthy of this state level recognition, I'm not sure who would have been, so really excited for that for her.
Any questions? Thank you, Sandy. Board committee reports, Board of Canvassers, was that you, Matt? Did you do that?
So we met and canvassed and we determined all the votes were accurate for our recent election, so.
Great, thank you for doing that. And administrative and support staff met tonight.
I think I'll cover that. We discussed the new change or new proposal for next year for the administrative support staff, approximately 4.7%.
Okay. Is that on the agenda later? Do we have something on the agenda?
This was the first one. We will approve all that stuff
So,
next year.
okay.
For admin contracts, we can talk about that at retreat. And then the compensation model that we have for all the support staff is something that we will bring next month.
Okay.
Forward. So this was really the first time for the committee to take a look at and see where we're at as far as the budget and all of that good stuff.
Okay. Next we have referendum-related information.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, one of the things, if you looked in your package, you might have seen this that talks a little bit about the timeline for referendum. So one of the things, now is pushed back a week here, is we want to make sure that we get input from our community on what we want to go for the referendum for. So we really, as you look at the way the survey is right now, it starts with a base plan of around $30 million. And we picked around that $30 million because at that, with what we've been doing financially, we have prepaid enough debt as a district that we would be debt-free in about 18 months. So, and a little piece that I liked, I did a little research myself this weekend, and over the last 10 years, the school district of Random Lake has not been average at their mill rate, but averaged 60% below average per thousand across the last 10 years. So if you look at what we were able to do, we have been frugal, we have done what we needed to do, and we're able to have what we have at 60 cents per thousand less than the rest of the state did. Now this year we're higher, but this year has added the previous 10 years and it's still 60 cents. So we have a decade to catch up from on where our mill rate has been significantly lower than the state average. So with that, $30 million right now in the next school year, we could go and not raise taxes and go from there. Now there's some other questions. You know, we heard from the soccer club about what do we think about a turf field for soccer and football, okay? That's a lightning rod. That's one of those things that I can ask 10 people and I'll get 5 answers on either side. So let's see where the community stands on this and let's ask them a question on that. The other one we have in there is about a softball diamond. We have a great softball diamond. Our kiddos are playing down there right now. Do we want that on campus or do we like where it is right there? And that would be at about $700,000. And then the last one that we had was around air conditioning. Air conditioning was something this community did a survey on 7 years ago with the last referendum. It was turned down, but we thought it was there. We're gonna look at that again. So the survey is still in its rough draft. What I need from this committee is, as you read the survey, as you look at this, as you see the numbers, how would you like us to go forward? Because the survey is just our opportunity to say, here's our plan, here's where we're at. Are we good, bad, or otherwise? Because the real referendum will be crafted in our meeting in June and July when we talk about what our base plan will be. Do we want a second referendum question and all those other good things? So the opportunity today is how do we want to ask our community on what we should do from there? So any questions on the survey? Any thoughts since we got this out to everybody?
When's the plan for it to go out?
Right now, it would be great if it was in everybody's mailboxes May 9th, and the window would be done May 31st. So a short window, there's an option that this would end up in everybody's mailbox that lives within our community. And they can choose either to contact us and we'll send them a self-stamped envelope, or they can go on their phone and do the survey right on their phone or any other electronic device.
Someone else have a question?
So this is a rough draft you're saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so who do we send typos to? And are we putting in a poll?
No, we're not. That's the biggest typo. I had 3 calls on that one, so,
Typo.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So that one is out. I had a couple, I was looking at it, so, yeah, the pool, and there's a couple other typos, and I looked at it like, okay.
The elementary stage and the middle school kitchen.
The kitchen would be the other piece, because it's really would be part of the multi-purpose with
Is
that
the
one.
map Cedar Grove? Like
What's that?
I don't even think the map that's in there is ours.
No, that's, they took this based off of what they did with Cedar Grove, and their success in Cedar Grove,
When
yes.
they say rough, they mean rough.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Sample.
So we'll get the updated page, this page updated before
Yes.
it goes out?
Yes. It's more about the questions that we want to ask on here than anything else.
Is this a point where I could bring up, I was
Yeah.
approached by a citizen, or actually several citizens thought of another option that might be talked about and put into the survey, and that would be to include, I guess, we wouldn't want to call it a field house, but a practice, an indoor practice facility, which might, in essence, save, or give us, our athletes in the area to practice whatever sport it might be in all weather conditions, whether it be golf or soccer or football or track. So it was a thought, we were wondering, it might be something we could have researched a little bit and maybe put on it as an ultimate item in the survey as well. It'd be probably a pretty significant cost, but there was some idea that maybe this could be a joint venture between the community and getting some private fundraising and split it with the tax base as well. So that's something, I don't know if we can talk about that now, or if we have to have a committee about discussing that later. But it's kind of short notice, but I think it's an idea that is worth considering. I heard the concern here, and I agree. I'm very conservative in spending money, but there's a point in time when you need to do certain things, and if you're going to do a project, I was always taught that if you do something, you do it right. You don't, pardon the French, but you don't half-ass it. You do it the right way. So I think it's bears checking into that maybe this is an option, or at least let the public then decide whether they want to take on more responsibility. So Mike, if you want to add to that? Or?
Sure, and some of those same individuals came and talked to is, we have experienced probably the worst spring for our spring athletics in quite some time. You know, our kids are batting with gloves on, and that's if they're lucky enough to go outside. I know there's some of our teams that aren't even able to play outside because either fields were underwater or it was raining. It's just been one of those things. So a group came up and said, do you think that this community would support something like an indoor practice facility like you see at Plymouth, you're seeing at other districts, that have somewhat of a, you know, like a 40-yard turf football field, but it has a batting cage, it has some other things that can be opened up to the community. Rhinelander has done a big one. There's one that's a bubble that you can go up to that is fantastic, and it's the place where all the kids go on Friday night because they can do all those things. And you know, the price tag for something like that, a bubble would probably be around $4 million. A structure like Plymouth would probably be around $8 million. And I think that's a lot to ask the community. So when this group came to me, I'm like, what do you think about some sort of public-private capital campaign? Like if we would get to the point to find individuals that would support half of it, would our community support the other half? And you know, the nice thing now is this is a survey time right now. So if we're going to ask people, now's the time to do it. I, for one, wouldn't want to ask the community on top of all these other things that we're asking for the whole thing. But if we were to say, would they be willing to front, you know, is it 40 cents per thousand, come up with a number on what that would be, that the fundraising would have to happen on the other end. would be a time to ask the question, because if we don't do it now, it'll be 10 more years before something like this would come up. And I think that's what I got from those individuals, like, we're gonna ask, now's the time to do it.
Right, and it might be an alternative to the football field.
Yep.
Instead of redoing that, there's $1 million or so of transferred over, so. It's something I think bears putting out to the public. And again, if there's no interest in it, then so be it, but now's the time to do it, otherwise we have a long time to go. There's certain things that really need to be done, and other things, like you said, some is a wish list, no doubt, but this is the time to do it, so.
So I guess the question for this group is, do you want might be a fifth question asked about any support in this area?
I would agree with that.
Is it an if or is it a one or the other, like a turf football field or this bubble?
So what happens from this is an opportunity, and there'll be a place where you can just write your comments on the survey. Once the survey comes back, we will spend most of our meeting in June taking all that data and then crafting our own questions. So right now it's information gathering, and the more information we have on different topics gives us a better data sets on what our final choice is. So it's not like we're doing anything more than asking individuals if this is something that would be supported or not.
If I just also comment, I mean, what I've heard from people in the community is that $30 million or $35 million, it's a lot of money. I mean, you get that. We don't just think, well, we can just tax and spend. That's not the mentality here. But it's something that you need to consider. And I spent a lot of time with Patty Dagnitz explaining the actual fiscal impact on what would happen if we don't versus what would happen if we do. And it's a real impact. And I'm not the person that can explain that extremely well, but it's something that definitely needs to be considered, in my view.
Well, I think it sounds like no one really has a problem with asking another question. I mean, it doesn't hurt to get the information.
Just gauging interest.
Right. Definitely. So,
And would we agree, we would want to ask a question on, I guess my question is, do we ask two questions on what the full amount would be and what a capitalize, or what a fundraiser would be? Do we want to just ask the fundraiser question? What would be the best way to craft that question? Because once I have it, I'll go back to the survey masters to make sure, because they'll have other questions like this they've done for other communities.
I'd probably say one, is there a need for the facility, right? And then two, how would you fund it? So I'd probably ask two questions around that.
And then give them shared community, so. Really, I mean, we're not making the decision here, it's the community, which is what's nice about, the, questionnaire that put there.
When were you gonna have the discussions? You were gonna have some sort of like informational meetings or something like that? Is that gonna be after this survey goes out and?
So the survey comes out May 9th. I have on here, as part of this discussion, having a time before the board meeting, for our May board meeting, to have a discussion. And then also, I'm crafting a letter that will be coming to you probably for next week, just talking about the whole piece for the Sounder. And I also will be doing some seat time on the 13th of May, like in the middle of this window, so you can come either on a Friday, talk to me, and I'm looking for locations yet where I can go in the morning and the afternoon, or you can come to the board meeting for a special session on the 16th to do that, or we can just make it part, I was gonna ask you, or we just make it part of the board meeting and make sure that there's a open session to talk about these things, and go from there. So I think the more dialogue we have on this topic, the better. And I think it's important, a lot of districts wait till after the survey and then they craft their referendum question and then get out there. I think it's important to have people ask questions so the data we get back from the survey is good data, and people know what they're answering when they're answering.
And I have one more question, sorry.
That's fine.
So is there, talk of business sponsors to help with, offloading some costs? Like you go to Plymouth and it's Acuity field house or whatever it is, you know, have we thought about like helping the cost of any of this only after all of this is done, or have we, where are we at with that?
I'm in the process of working on some of those, but I have to figure out where we're asking for it. So in some cases, it depends on if through the survey, something around the fundraising for an indoor facility happens, that would probably be where the lion's share of those would go. If through the survey process, it's not supported to even do a half and half type thing, then those funds would be going for naming rights. So yeah, I have some tabs open right now on request letters, asking to kind of support, but I need direction and data to be able to do that, but yes, definitely.
So there's a survey company putting together the survey that goes out with all of our names on it, right? So there's a lot of mistakes in it, right? I mean, there's little bitty mistakes and there's really big mistakes, right? Like, I don't mind my name on it as it is, right? Like, I feel like there needs to be, with this calendar or something, then I go, but like, there needs to be another day in there for us to look at it.
There's a proofer
Yeah, there's
that
a
it goes to
professional
at some
proofer.
point.
Right, but I would guess some of these people probably proved this before they sent it to us.
No, they didn't, and unfortunately, I was supposed to get the most updated one, and Bill wasn't around. So this is probably 2 weeks old and not the most updated one. So I wanted to at least get, the questions are the way they are, a lot of the stuff in the middle isn't cleaned up yet, so, yeah.
I mean, we've used them in the past.
Yeah.
This company in the past.
And we do have one of my topics at the end is to look for a date for a board retreat. So if we'd like to wait for that, we can push this back a little bit, and go from there. So I think these guys are probably doing 20, there was 80 some referendums this last go around. They probably did over half, if not more. And they're kind of the ones to go to around school referendum survey questions. So.
I mean, I would push it back a little bit, like I think we just talked about doing a lot more than that. I mean, so you guys have all seen it, I guess, before. I haven't seen it before. I feel like saying things like there's no increase and then later saying there's a $29 increase are completely contradictory, right? There are things that are worded in a way that I think is meant to deceive, maybe. So I guess I'd rather take our time to put together a nice survey, a good survey that will get the information we need instead of trying to get it done fast.
I think we're all good with that. Yeah, that's definitely what we want.
And there's nothing on there to deceive. You know, 30 million is zero increase. If we do the different projects would, you know, the way this is, not having been around, at 30 million, there's zero increase to the tax rate. If we were to do a football field, or if we go with a base plan of 33 million instead of 30 million, that's where the 29 cents per thousand comes in. So there's a lot of different moving pieces with this. That's why we're trying to figure out how those moving pieces actually come into what we're trying to develop. So.
Is the 35 like a artifact of the city road stuff that's in there?
The 35 was the first number we were at, and we really tried to craft it around the number of zero or little increase. So the base plan right now would be at 33, and at 33 it would be 29 cents if we would go that way. So.
And just to be clear, maybe Katie, for you and for others, that these numbers are crafted by, I think I can share this guy by Barrett Investment, who does the advising to this, and they're the ones who really lay out to us, okay, this is how you can figure what the number is gonna cost you. So it's not us board members just coming up and throwing this stuff out there. It's done by professionals who know what they're doing.
And I would say, you know, Stacy talked about any kind of contingency and stuff. There's a lot of inflation baked into these numbers because right now, you know, and this is the other piece too, is to build right now, to break ground right now would be absolutely crazy. That would not be a good investment in any tax money. There are many things we can do. So if there's, the reason this number's so high is because I think they're almost double impacting what inflation looks like both for construction costs and employment, because the shovel doesn't hit the ground for almost 2 years from November when this comes down. So The other piece with this is, we don't know what the borrow rate is going to be. So, there's so much speculation that goes into this, because we're really talking about numbers that are 1-2 years out, and we're seeing, inflation that could be at 8%. So, the other piece is, this could be the perfect time to do this, because I think a lot of us think there might be a bubble in some of this. If that happens, when we do this, there could be an opportunity to get more, or even come in, under this number because of savings. So, this is a long process, and we've been doing this for almost a year since we've been talking about doing facility audits and all those other good stuff. So nothing in this is rushed. This is just kind of taking each step. So what I will do is I will work with Bill. We will craft a couple more questions, clean this up, and then, I think what we can do from there is, because I know the time frame, that there's some things we want to make sure that we have by the June and July meeting, so there's deadlines that we have to get the question crafted by. So once we have it, I will get this out, and then if we need to, we can talk about it at a retreat and really kind of dig into this. Or if it looks good, we can send it to the printers and go from there. So what you see in front of you right now is really a rough draft.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? All right, out-of-state travel, overnight travel for the seniors. Nikki Donahue has requested approval of out-of-state travel to go to Six Flags for the seniors. May 14th through the 15th, is Nikki here?
Nikki is not here.
Okay.
But we support it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Rainey, is there a second? Amy or Chris? Chris?
We're gonna have to fix that or something.
Any questions or discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. We have another out-of-state field trip request for 4th grade to go to the Shed Aquarium. And Sandy, you're in favor?
I am indeed. Our 4th grade has typically, and I'm talking pre-COVID, gone to Madison as a culminating experience for their entire school year. They tried it this year, but because of mask mandates and limited sizes of crowds, they were unable to schedule. So instead of focusing on social studies this year, the Shed Aquarium fits their science curriculum, and they are able to go there as a large group.
Great, okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
I'll second.
Katie, were you seconding? I saw her hand go. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The Rec Department and Community Athletics review.
That's you. Come on up. Talk close to the microphone so people at home can hear it too.
Which direction should it face?
Either way, just make sure your voice carries.
First and foremost, good evening. Thank you for having me here. It's a great day to be a Ram for a variety of reasons. One is we're averaging almost 100 kids in the weight room on a daily basis from either classes or at 6 in the morning when yours truly is here, or after school or during AR, so that's a wonderful opportunity a lot of our kids are taking advantage of. That's one. Two, I became a grandpa today for the second time, so, and best of all, everybody's doing great. Approximately in December, we created a questionnaire that was sent out to every head coach of all of our sports that we provide at the high school level in efforts to determine, okay, what is offered to our kids, not only in the high school, but all the way down to kindergarten. Not only what is provided by the school, but also from the community. So that was one of the reasons for it. The second is from that study and an accumulation, which we'll go through in a few minutes, what holes do we have available? In other words, are there opportunities available for kids in kindergarten, middle school, so on? And those efforts were pretty enlightening for a variety of reasons. And again, it's all listed by sport. I did get responses from all the coaches, so that's wonderful. For us, and again, it's categorized by what's available currently in the elementary, currently in the middle, currently in the high school. So these are current availabilities. The coaches deemed, okay, what else could we, should we, would we like to do? And what would we like to offer? And you can see in some cases, our wrestling program, they kind of got it going. So realistically, not much needed, or it's what they envisioned for the future. But one thing that coach wrote in there was the perception of this current strength training program. And I'm going to allude to that in a minute or two. And volleyball, football. The one thing that was very enlightening, just
Can I scroll down?
good for the football thing, is we didn't have anything available at all to our kids kindergarten through 4th grade. Nothing. So we're in the midst of, and I'll talk about the fix for any of these holes. The fix for that, we're in the midst of trying to create that with the junior program. So again, give our kids at least an opportunity to experience football. So again, you can see what's available, what's not available. The one thing that has, this has really transpired into, we had a wonderful meeting. Soccer, how long ago was that, Mr. Ed? 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Fest night, yeah.
Okay, so what that really did is sat down not only with our varsity coaches, but also our youth organizations to communicate, hear your concerns, and there was some give and take that people weren't aware of. Boy, communication, continuity, that's the key to being successful, not just on an athletic field, but in life in general, and in education for sure. So we've already initiated that with that sport. It was a wonderful, I don't know, hour and 20-minute meeting. Left with a lot of good ideas that were shared, and also ideas that we need to follow up on. So that was, in essence, what occurred. What we're going to do to fix some of these holes or the future is this. Number one is identify what the issue is, have additional meetings with programs. So, for example, our basketball program, what exactly do you want accomplished with our middle school program? So the varsity coach is going to set up, for lack of a better term, a curriculum. So when those kids step into the high school level, not only have they had a great experience, but number one, they don't step into high school and all of a sudden, oh my God, I have no idea what dribbling with my left hand is. Well, in reality, that has been one of the things that have been to be worked on with our middle school program. So to create a scope and sequence, number one. The other fixes is to involve the community. Programs such as our youth soccer, like our junior football, and everybody's got a program. But to get everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, rather than worrying about our 5th grade team was 16-0, and everybody loves to win, I get it. But you don't want to be 16-0 playing whatever sport, and then you've got a percentage of kids who had a poor experience, either because they didn't play. So to create a philosophy at those young levels to encourage continual play, keep playing, learn the skills, experience an opportunity, and then hopefully our numbers will increase first in middle school, which is kind of a blip, but then also in the high school level. And it won't be one of those, well, I don't want to go out because I've never played before. Well, that's not 100% accurate because you've had opportunities and you probably did play junior or youth, whatever the sport may be, fast pitch, baseball, or so. So that's what this was. The other part of the fix is I have a meeting offered up on the 18th of May to all of our current head coaches. Not only to go through this, is there something more specific we need to follow up on? Some other organization out there that we need to embrace? And then try to set up dates where our baseball program will get together with all of the other little satellite programs, like Batavia, for example, and make sure that our kids are being put in a position to be successful all the way up, so when they step into high school, this isn't a news flash, this isn't anything new, this is what was expected of you as you progress through Batavia's program, for example, and how that's going to work with the high school. The other part of that meeting on the 18th, as coach and a number of coaches, and if you see this, a lot of coaches talked about future high school, speed and agility training. What's my unit called? Strength training, so on. Well, understand the strength training program has got a pretty good kickstart for about 10 months now. Pretty good kickstart, as I alluded to right away. The other part of that, summer school, we have a summer school program. It's going to start, it's going to be early, but 6 in the morning till 8:30. We actually have a speed coordinator hired who's solely going to work on developing our kids' speed, and that'll be in the middle of the week on Wednesday. I do have a little bit of a background on that, but this guy makes a living doing this, so that'll give our kids more opportunities as well. But the other part of this with the coaches, the coaches need to first understand what the philosophy is behind the strength training program. This is not a football program. This is an athletic program. The bulk of our kids play 2 to 3 sports here. That's a given. I mean, you can look at Joe's regular, that's it. So you can't create 3 separate or 4 separate or 2 separate strength programs. Because if I'm in the off season, which one do I work out with? Because if I'm a volleyball player, do I do my volleyball program or then my basketball coach? If that's a separate, now the kid's put in a no-win situation. That is my #1 pet peeve in education. We cannot put our kids between a rock and a hard place. So the program that we've been put into place is very well-rounded. It benefits any athlete. It is very short and sweet. Literally, the kids that come in, you can come in any morning. You're more than welcome to come on in. In the mornings, we tee it up exactly at 6 in the morning, and the kids are out of there at 7:15, go shower up, go eat. It's wonderful. And again, come on in and watch. We have 5 middle school kids that are there on a daily basis. I mean, like the sun coming up, they're there. #1, #2, we have about 4 young ladies that are there every morning, come heck or high water. And the rest are gentlemen, but anywhere from 9th grade up to 11th grade. So it's very welcoming. I know there's some people that are, well, it's, there's a lot of, we are too busy, everything's time to be worrying about what somebody else is looking like. Or how much somebody else is lifting. And a lot of your kids have been in there. It's loud, music's loud. But again, it gets my stamp of approval. The kids get excited, the energy's awesome. And I encourage you to come sometime. But that's what's happening, that's what the future is. That's what we're going to try to create. We're going to, again, put our kids in a position where they can experience a great opportunity, starting hopefully in kindergarten, and venture out with some kind of continuity, so when they get into middle school, high school, it's something that's not new, not in behind, not any of that. Let's just play and enjoy one another's company, and God forbid, compete.
So,
questions?
Just if I could, just kind of want to remind the group, since we have some new ears here and people at home, last year at the board retreat, the board said, how can we do something to be more systems thinking around our activities in our athletics? And that's where we really took that community rec department and increased it to a level to really have a pulse on what's happening in our elementary or middle and high school sports. Where are there holes, where aren't there, and how do you start building that culture? And I know Dave and I were talking last week, I'm like, hey, get us a number, how many kids are actually busting right now lifting? Well, we have about 250 kids in the high school, 100 of them, well 95 if we have 5 middle schoolers, 95 of them are in there busting it with him or somebody else lifting. that's pretty cool. And it's, the muscles and the strength and the speed are great, but you know what? The community and culture that builds when you're sweating with your friends and you're working hard with your friends, that's a long way to come in a year's time, or 10 months really, since we've been doing this. So, you know, this presentation was for you to ask questions. This is just 10 months in something we want to keep doing, but you needed an update on, hey, this was what you asked us to do, here's where we're at right now. So what questions, anything that you have for Dave, any suggestions, anything you're hearing in the community?
How do the middle schoolers know about your program?
It's been in the announcements and that sort of thing, word of mouth. I coach football, so those kids that play junior football have
Okay, so that's,
probably heard too much from me,
okay,
because again, the strength training, yes, it's gonna make you stronger and kids will jump higher, but at least a quarter of what we do in there on a daily basis is to prevent knee problems, to prevent shoulder issues. It just is. You know, again, I want the kids to enjoy their opportunities playing a bunch of sports, and part of that is being safe.
right. So you have middle schoolers from like basketball and other sports there too
Whatever,
then?
honestly, the only kids that are in there that I really know, middle school kids that I know of, what sport they play, the 4 boys I know played football. I have no idea what else they've done.
Right.
And that's part of the educational process
Hey,
is,
on to the next
is with the coaches. Come on in,
Right,
come on in, and we have, Adam Jungers is our afternoon or evening supervisor. He's been used before, he hasn't been used, but he's very familiar with the program.
oh,
If
so,
the kids can't come in before school or 6 in the morning, yeah, I know it's early, but go in after school to get it done. If that doesn't work, we have it available during AR time.
so they could be showing some of those things.
Oh, they, absolutely, if they already have it then. Yep,
And the speed and agility thing you're talking about for summer school?
yep.
Is it, like, are all the sports gonna be aware of that?
Anybody's more than welcome to sign up, come on down.
So how do you find out about it?
That's also been an announcement and sent out, and it'll be continued to be sent out. We need to sign up for, it's a summer school
I
supplemental.
believe it's in the summer school registration packet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And again, that's not a separate entity now. That's strength training, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesdays, speed, that sort of thing. And no, we don't lift weights for 2.5 hours. Oh my goodness. I mean, we have a thorough warm-up, we work on agility, then we lift weights and work on power and explosiveness and vertical, and then we do plyometrics and agilities, and during the summer, we have ample time to work on flexibility as well. And if there's anything really neglected, only because of time constraints with, I don't want to miss in first block, is the flexibility portion. Although with the strength classes that Mr. Donahue and I teach, there's typically a full block class, ample time at the end to do work on flexibility as well. It's really cool. The energy in the morning is really cool.
How do the high schoolers attend this speed and agility? When is that gonna be offered to them?
Wednesdays, oh yeah, this is all gonna be
In
part
summer?
of the summer school offering. So it's 5 days a week, but we're bringing a guy in Wednesdays, coaching, teaching.
And because it's summer school, we actually get reimbursed for those students being at school doing this, so we can actually take what we get from all these kids doing this to pay for that, so it's actually like getting a high-level speed guy for, nearly nothing, or we could still be profiting off of it, because if we get 100 kids coming doing this, that's a pretty cool thing to do, and hopefully we see, the track full of kids doing high knees and lunges and all that other good stuff. So,
Summer school is just a elementary, middle school thing though, isn't it? Or-
Typically, high schoolers, I don't think are signing up for Sunday school.
for summer school.
Summer school.
We're hopefully changing that, and part of the meeting that Dave's gonna have with Joe on, what was the date with the
18th
coaches?
of May.
We really want our coaches to be the mouthpiece of this, to say, hey, if you aren't doing your chores in the morning, if there's any reason, get here. If you need a ride, get here. When this is done, this gets to be a fun thing. Sure, 6 in the morning is not fun for anything, but you know what, a little bit of pain goes a long way for culture and community.
It affords kids the opportunity, in my experience of doing this, and I've done it for a long time. Kids who have summer jobs, kids got, so, okay, we're gonna go from 10 till noon. That's just not gonna work. We're not gonna have anybody show up, so, okay. Yep, we're gonna tee it up early, and trust me, when the alarm clock goes off at 4:30 in the morning, I'm not the most enthusiastic either. But I can tell you, once I get here, and it was no different last summer, and that was not strictly, but football kids, the majority, the energy's awesome. It keeps me young, I mean, it really does. And again, we got some fast pitch kids coming in on a regular basis right now. The bulk of our baseball program's in there. There's a few of our basketball kids are in there, and of course, our kids play 3 sports, so there's such an overlap. It's wonderful. And Mr. Trimberger, Dr. Trimberger, brought up about the culture thing. In a school district I worked at previous, there's really something to be said that if I'm working out and I'm a men's basketball player, but then there's a volleyball player right next to me and she's busting it. When it comes volleyball season, I'm coming to watch you play. And we do a lot of that here already. I'm not gonna debate that. And you're gonna come and watch me play buckets, but it's a tighter, we really care because we've invested together. And again, I've seen it live and in color at huge schools, at wildly successful schools.
Just an observation, I don't see any golfing in here, can golfers come and,
Absolutely, trust me.
I'm encouraged by the new golfing instructor we have, and coach, and so, but yeah, it's just.
Anybody and everybody is welcome. The kids who don't play any sports, I've got a couple of kids in my second block who are just, they work out for fitness, and to be real frank, they look in the mirrors a lot. Whatever it takes, they're killing themselves. I mean, it's awesome.
Okay,
I
well,
I
thank
have
you.
one more question.
Sure.
Since the beginning of the year, I've had a lot of parents and like people in the community ask about this fitness center that you were starting and what have you, and, you know, then I heard from Mike that it was free, but I guess I haven't seen a whole lot come out about it. Like, do you have community participants or adults there as well? I mean, this is obviously our focus, but I just know some people have asked me about it, so.
Well, Carrie's been gracious enough to put it in the paper. It's on our website, the hours. But we have wonderful volunteers who open it up for 5 days a week at 5 in the morning. Oh, my God. And basically from 5 till 6, it's community members.
Okay.
There's, I would say, 7 to 8 pretty, religiously there working out. And again, they've volunteering their time, and then I get there before 6 so I can get things set up for the kids. And I'm there from 6 till 7:30. The community's more than welcome at that time, but with the understanding that there's gonna be up to 35 kids, and the music's gonna be a little loud, going on. And then in the evenings, it's also available from 4 o'clock till 6:30. So, yeah, it's available.
It's good to know.
And there is no cost. I know that was kind of a source of confusion when I first got here, but that was clarified.
And the doors are open.
Come right in the front door at 5 in the morning, it'll be unlocked. Or wherever that is, yeah.
That's the security.
Yep.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. No offense, but I'm gonna go see my grandson.
No, do it.
Thanks.
Next, we have COVID. Can we just skip that?
We can skip that. You did see in my weekly update, numbers went up a little bit. We are noticing an increase in COVID numbers the last 2 weeks, but it's more cold-like symptoms that we're seeing, nothing overly serious, so nothing that we need to change right now, unless, the board would like to change something. Okay?
Everybody good? All right, that takes us to prom 2022. And Matt had requested this be on the agenda. I don't know if you have anything specific you want to address, or,
I'll piggyback off of the community members that came in tonight here, but first of all, thanks for putting it on the agenda based on the request, and thanks for coming out and voicing your opinion on the process. But, so, I think going back to when this was first rolled out, I understand the intent of the new process and everything, but, I understand that there's also, I think, people in favor on both sides, so, I get that one way or another, but I guess I would echo what was said here tonight, that, prom, in my opinion, is a tradition, it's a rite of passage, and, I respectfully feel that it should go back to the way that it was versus our new process, and, I haven't heard from any of these individuals specifically, but I've heard from numerous other individuals that, in my circle and so forth, that have voiced, their concerns about it. So the way I looked at it is pretty much the selection process. Again, I wrote this down, so I'm not stealing all you guys' thunder. But I think the process takes away the student-to-student peer vote and places it back into the hands of adults. And I just don't think that's right. I think, the school's here for our kids, and that process, should stay there. And, I think one of the individuals here had mentioned it too. I think no matter which way you do it, there's going to be people's feelings that are hurt. Some are going to get picked, some are not going to get picked, and so forth. And I guess, you probably look at, the process and how people might be picked on a little bit differently depending on, how that's structured. So, I actually had a couple different analogies. I won't go into them too deep here, but I mean, we've all been in the playground, we play pickup games, right? So typically, there's two captains that come out and say, all the people I want to play here, line up, right? And they go down the line, right? I'm going to pick you, I'm going to pick you, I'm going to pick you, right? So, maybe some of the more popular kids or maybe better athletes might be picked initially, but eventually everybody gets picked, and you might be on a good team, and you might not be on such a good team. You might feel a little bit picked on or what have you, but I think at the end of the day, everybody goes out there, they play, they have a good time, and it's not so much focused on the selection process, but the members that are made from that standpoint. Since we just recently had a board election here, I kind of look at elections, they're a popularity contest, right? Typically if you have multiple people that are running for election, the more popular individuals typically get voted in that process. So I just kind of looked at it and said, all right, in that particular instance for a school board election, those individuals are voted on and elected by their peers, which are adults that have a vested interest in the community. They're not voted on by the minors of the community that aren't taxpayers or maybe necessarily have that type of vested interest in that. So I know I've said popularity a couple different times here, but I personally don't think popularity contest is a bad thing. I think if you are deemed to be maybe popular, I think that it probably means, A, you have really good social skills or good social skills, and that you get along with the majority of your peers and classmates or teachers and faculty in the school as well. So I don't think we should shy away from that. I think we should continue to encourage, people to have that type of interaction with their classmates and their peers and so forth. So I guess, from my opinion, and where I sit, again, I'd like to go back to the way of being selected. And the other part of that is that I'd like to request that we put the selection process for prom and homecoming in our student handbook, so that it actually becomes part of our policy and we have a say in it as a school board. So that would be my ask of the board at this point in time. So that's all I have.
That's quite it.
I totally
I got
agree
more.
with Matt on all of his points, and I think that it says a lot about our culture, you know, and like somebody had spoke of, all the other districts in our area have not changed their stance on this. I don't know why we changed our prom to be voted on by teachers. I think that it should be voted on by students, and if, you know, if they don't get voted on, that's the way it is, you know, this is prom, it's not filling out an application for college, that's what it is. So there's gonna be hurt feelings, there were hurt feelings from the way they just did it. There's no boys on it, I think it's an embarrassment. I really do, the way, you know, if another school is gonna see pictures of our kids and it's just gonna be girls, I just don't understand why we couldn't have couples. Why can't we just do it the way it always has been? We talked about it last year, we knew it was gonna be an issue again this year, nobody wanted to change it. It looks kind of embarrassing, and I feel like, you know, we have a lot of great things going on for us right now. I feel like this is kind of a black eye. I really would like to see it change back, and I would like to see it in the policy, as well as homecoming. I think that for us to change homecoming too is, why did we change that? I don't know what the point of changing that was either.
Would you guys like to know why we changed it?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, one of the things, and I hear a lot about tradition, and one of the things we're trying to do, discourse is good, because I do think one of the things our community has got rooted in is tradition. Tradition can be a good thing, but also tradition can be a thing that gets us to a place that didn't have new houses built in our community for over 30 years. So, you know, if we talk about tradition, homecoming used to be voted on. It was 5 football players would be the homecoming court, and they would then pick their date, and that was homecoming court. That was the tradition. And then it slowly went to, it can't just be football, it has to be others. And I'm talking 20, 30 years ago, and tradition changes. One of the things, when this was done last year, this was really around the social emotional of our kids. And that was a piece that was the first movement in this. We wanted to, as we've seen students struggling with a post-pandemic era, what can we do? So it wasn't about, you know, adults trying to take over, it was about adults trying to assist and make things better. Well, from that we had some good feedback about, hey, we want to have a king and queen, hey, we want, there should be some parameters, there should be some other things. So that team took the feedback from last year and created to what you see right now. And this is something that we brought to the board in fall. And really, as much as we were concerned about students' feelings last year, this was really something that we're noticing, and I have a 13-year at home, so I see some of this. Students aren't driven to do the activities as they were in the past. I know this last year, if you would have looked at our homecoming floats, there were some class advisors there telling us we have to force kids to just do a float. Students don't have that same rich feeling of tradition in doing the fundraising, doing the float building, doing some of those things. And slowly and surely, we're seeing the erosion of some of these traditions. So we're trying to find ways to give students carrots around what are some things that you can do. So this was really the thought of this application process, and that's why I shared every one of the applications with the board. We took great lengths to redact everything that could have any kind of describable information, because I wanted you to see what our students that went through the application process were feeling about how this connects to what we talk about with the Random Lake Advantage. And through this, if you took some time, and honestly, I've spent more time than I ever want to in my career around prom, and you know, there is some things that we're trying to look at students. Students are different now than they were even 5 years ago, but they're very different than they were 10 years ago. This is feedback we're getting from our advisors. These are feedback that we're getting that what can we do to do this? And we're trying to send a message, be proud, you know, give in to, you know, like do these things for your school, for your community, and that was this push. Now I hear the concern. And when we hear concern, that means we have to look and see what are some ways that we can still advocate for this, to have students be part of the fundraising, be part of the float building, be part of all these things that we have to do, the decorating, but also give students more voice. And I know the committee, when they put this together, thought the king and queen was the most important piece. So there is a vote about king and queen. But we're hearing it's not just about king and queen, it's about making sure that, that students have the vote on all students. So with that, I hear a lot about it's all girls. That is not the intention on this. The intention is that there will be couples. The prom court will get a picture next week, and as long as everyone has dates, it will be 9 girls and 9 boys up there. So this isn't about girls dancing with girls or anything like that. It's about even couples and going forward from there. So I apologize that this missed the mark as bad as it has, but there's good intentions here in what's trying to be done, because there's real concern about the message we send. And if we say prom is just a popularity contest, and there's nothing wrong with popularity contest. All of you are here because you're popular, and we're thankful for that. But what does that send when it's time to go decorate prom? What does that send a message when it's time to clean up after prom? What does that send for the senior trip? One of the big things, one of the best traditions we have is we have a really, really grand senior trip. That senior trip only comes from a lot of fundraising that happens from your freshman year. And if that slowly starts eroding, what happens? Do we not have senior trip? Do we not have homecoming parades? Do we not have floats and homecoming parades? Those are the things we're trying to find ways to keep that tradition alive and hitting some pieces, but we're listening and saying, okay, well, if this isn't it, what is it? And keep moving forward from there. So, I don't know. It is a process. I read every one of the applications. I do think there were some things that we could have done differently that I would suggest our next go-around on this. But I was really proud of the applications I did read and of our boys and our girls. There's a lot of things to be really proud of what our kids are doing and how they're connecting their own experiences with the Random Lake Advantage. So it's a tight spot. Change isn't easy. I don't know. So that's the motivation. That's what's trying to get done here. These are nothing but the best intentions, but even the best intentions sometimes run into roadblocks. So
I think the application sends a new message, because now instead of being voted on by your peers, and maybe it's popularity, or maybe it's just a really nice kid that's nice to everybody, and because we've experienced that, but now the message isn't, oh, I'm not popular, or maybe if I was nicer to people, I would have gotten voted. It's, I filled out an application. I really tried to show who I am and what I'm involved in. I guess I'm not good enough. So there's a whole nother message that can come out of this. And I think I'd rather have the message that let's let our kids choose. And yes, there's popular kids on it, but it's not always just popular kids. So I don't really think that's the full picture here. And honestly, if we tried to do this to have less drama, we still have drama, and we need to be spending our time doing other things. And our staff and advisors, they've done what they were asked to do, and now they've been put in the middle of a situation that they don't deserve to be in. So
this is coming from our advisors because they don't know what to do anymore. So going back to the old system, we'll systematically lose a lot of our advisors because they don't know what to do. It's not like this is a graded assignment. This is, if kids don't show up, these things just go away.
yeah, but I don't think we've made it easier for them because of this situation.
Well, this didn't come from me. This was something, this is grassroots supporting the people that are on the ground working with kids, saying, hey, what can we do? So understand if you haven't been working with a class, you don't know, but this is coming from the people that are doing the day-to-day, that don't know what the heck to do to make sure that we're doing those things.
Well, I think there's two issues. There's the issue of kids voting
their fellow students on the prom court, and then the issue of kids aren't as involved and active. Because I remember the days I was building floats and the kids wouldn't show up. So I think that's kind of separate from your courts. We still, somehow we need to get our kids to be more involved and own it, and I don't know the answer to that. But in my eyes, I don't see how they're tied together. I guess I don't understand that piece.
The best laid plans sometimes don't come to fruition. I listened many times to why this was brought forth, and last fall I even thought an application, it's not the worst thing, but clearly it missed its mark, in my opinion, from what I've heard. I had the opportunity to actually question a couple of kids that are currently there, and I got two things from them. The biggest thing was they felt it was taken out of their control. And one of the most important things about this country and this whole thing is that kids should learn the importance of voting. And if they have that, they feel like their vote is taken away. I mean, that's a fundamental lesson that we have to teach these kids. And I know the advisors were trying to do this, and they meant well, or they might have meant well, but it didn't work. Or it's not working because it's causing more. I personally don't even know that the board should be dealing with this, but we should, because parents are here, and we're their only method of getting through to this school is by coming through us. So we have to do something. I believe it's in our vested interest to do something. And what I'm hearing is that this has got to go back. I agree with you, what you say, Mike, about traditions, and they do need to change at time, but sometimes they change too fast. And there's nothing wrong with keeping some traditions that are there. People are going to be hurt. No matter what we do, they're going to be hurt. And that's unfortunate. We don't want to do that, but that is part of life. Part of life is you learn from that. I've had kids that were on court and not on court. They both survived. Or all three of them survived. You know, it's one of those things in life. Fundamentally, I think Matt made some great points. Actually, everyone's made great points. Fundamentally, it comes down to the kids feel like they want to have a say in what it happens to them. It is a big deal. Even if you're not on court, at least I believe it still is, a big deal for juniors. It's part of something you look forward to as a junior in high school. And to say, well, you know, you can vote on just this, but you can't vote on who's there, I don't agree with it. I think these parents are right for coming forward, and I think we should take action as a board to reflect their concerns and the concerns of what the kids are.
I guess I think the boys that did get voted in, and Shelley, for you to say Nick's a great writer, that isn't fair. You know, the person that, I read, you know, the applications, and it's like, you really would have to sit down and think about that. I have to review myself at the end of every year. I don't take notes about what I did all year, you know, at work. So it's pretty slim what I put on there. So my employment at Kohler has not been affected by what I put on that, you know, my review. So I give the boys that were voted in and just feel like this is awkward, I give them a lot of credit for, you know, I think standing up for what they feel they want. And I guess I don't understand if we don't change something, what we're gonna do going forward. Like, now the girls will ask someone, and then how is that any better than voting, you know? And, you know, personally, I think we're in a small enough school, and we have a great teaching staff. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but we all have perceptions of people that we come across and whatever, and we're in a small enough school that I think the teachers reading these applications know who it is, just by reading it. And that their perception then of that kid can, you know, play into how it was voted. So, I also was never on prom. I don't even remember if I went to prom. But, you know, it's something that is important to the kids. And I also do not like the way it came down last year when, you know, the officers came in and, you know, tried to negotiate and were to shut them. I don't think that's sending the right message to the kids if we're trying to, you know, teach them to be strong, you know, people in their communities, but then we shut them down when they actually come forward with an issue.
Can I just add something, Mr. Cooper? No, okay. Is there some compromise? Is there like a happy medium? Can you apply, but then the students vote based on who applied? And maybe there's a minimal amount of criteria, like you've just gotta be an advocate for your class and be a class leader, not necessarily an officer or something, but, you know, show up. I don't know the answer, but I'm just wondering, what can we do to improve the process so we're not
That's
here?
gonna work.
Before we go down that, let's get through everybody having their first say. Did you speak, Amy? And did you have anything you wanted to say, Katie?
I kind of agree with everybody who was involved last year when it was happening, right? Like, nobody was happy about what happened last year, and now it's sort of the same. And I apologize, I wasn't at the meeting last fall or whenever you guys got an update. I probably would have spoken against it at public comment. But I just think it's so much worse to apply for something, get told no by teachers and people who are in authority over you and feel like you're not good enough, than to have a list of your entire class and people get selected and people don't. Even like having an application to get on that list, I feel like then it narrows down the list, and now if you've got like 15 people and you didn't get chosen from them, that's worse than if you had the whole, whatever, 25 boys, right? Like, so, and I think the old way of doing it, I understand and I work with students all the time, right? Like, getting people to do things is hard, but I think like Rita said, it's a completely separate issue. I don't think that this necessarily makes a difference. So, I mean, I don't know if it's how we go about changing it for this year, but I would want to change it for this year, and throw it back and start over.
So, I guess my question is we had a lot of this similar discussion, I don't know, was it in the fall? And I feel like we all kind of had the same thought process. Like, our thought process has not changed from tradition to this application thing, right? I mean, none of us have, right? And so my question is, did we not understand what you guys were telling us, or did it get changed? I guess, if I think back, which is, you know, that was a long time ago, I guess I kind of understood it as people would fill out an application and pretty much, yeah, you know, if you filled out and you even, drove into the church parking lot, you were gonna be counted because you went through an application process and you may have attended some basketball games or you may have, but that they did something. So I was kinda like, we really weren't gonna weed a lot of people out. It was, they had an application that they had to do, and that would be more incentive so they'd have something to fill out on this application. I guess I didn't understand because I thought that was the big problem, was that we had teachers voting on these people saying yes or no. So I thought that was our big problem that we were trying to solve. And then, I don't know if we're still in that, I thought that's what was going away. So when I first heard about prom, I think maybe it was Matt asking, and I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what's the problem. I thought we had it figured out. So I guess that's, did I misunderstand? Or did it get changed? I don't know, but I don't think the boards, what they really, agreed with the parents last year really changed.
If I could just follow that, Jim, along those lines, that's what I thought we understood, and my recollection was that it was still gonna be the kids that got to vote on those people that put forth an application. I didn't, unless I missed it, I didn't know that the teachers were gonna make that choice, and then it was gonna be put forth. That's how I
thought that's what they
understood.
did that we didn't like originally.
Yeah, I
The
thought it was
teachers
just like,
said,
okay, so
here's
they
the
make an
people you get to vote on.
So they put an application, and then they all get voted on by their class. I didn't know that it was
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's how I
That's what I
recalled
thought
it.
it was
And
too.
maybe there was a disconnect that we didn't understand, or maybe it did get changed, that's the question.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, that we didn't understand.
The application as it is the same as it was this fall, so that hasn't changed. I think maybe the clarification could have been, the voting came for the king and queen. Like that was a big thing last year, was we need to vote for a king and queen who are king and queen. So I think that was, as this process, there was a whole class vote for the king and queen once the application process went with this, so.
And I
mean,
think,
I'm not-
and that could be our fault, that we assumed when we say voting for king and queen, that means from the beginning and not in the middle of the process. And, I think that's what I thought, because, I had to stop and think, like, what did we talk about? Because I thought this was handled, so that was like checkmarked and we moved on until Matt's email. So, tonight's like really the first night that I'm really understanding what the problem is. So, I really don't want to put it in policy, because that's a rabbit hole I would not want to see the board go down for our administrators' sakes. Because they need to be able to have, they need to be able to take care of the day-to-day operations without us.
I don't see this as a day-to-day operation. I don't see prom and homecoming as a day-to-day operation.
And, so, I think we need to advise and, if they don't follow what we advise as a board, then they gotta go. I mean, I think that's how it works. I mean, we don't put everything into policy just so we can, control. We don't want to be micromanaging. But if we say, as a board, this is where we'd like to see this go, and these are the reasons why, and can we compromise, can we get a consensus with everybody involved, and we all agree and we move in that direction, then we're all good. But if we agree and we don't move in that direction, then
Well,
next
we're-
guy. I think
We're
that's
not
what.
gonna kick them off.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, not just on prom, I'm saying,
It's a principle.
It's the principle
the-
that we're representatives of the citizens, and we're ultimately their boss.
Yeah.
And we're suggesting this is what we want to see happen, and hopefully they would get that message. Is that what you're saying?
right, but I don't think we want to, this is what time you take the bathroom breaks, this is what time I don't want to do, and, it's very, they really want you to stay away from that, and,
It borders on
WSB and.
micromanagement.
Right, because you just, you start with something small, or anything. Prom is not small to some people, prom is small to other people. But, you start with something, then it's just gonna keep going, and that's not, I don't think that's our role. And if we don't have administration that, we're not always gonna agree on everything. I don't think that, and we don't want to, because that's not how we get the best for our kids. So, we need to come together, but if we can't come together, then we don't have the right people in the right places. And it's not just one item, it's overall, because like I said, we're not all gonna agree every time.
So I get where you're coming from. And so we're in the second year of this right now, right? And the way I look at it, and I know other districts have done this, and that's why my request was to put this in the student handbook, because it has a clearly defined process for the prom and homecoming selection.
I guess I
So-
wouldn't have a problem in the student handbook,
Yep.
but to set it as a policy, like we
Yeah.
say, hey, this is how we do it.
But when you make changes to the student handbook, it goes through committee, right?
Right.
For us to agree
Right.
upon the process of that selection,
Right.
right? So that, I guess that's where I'm coming to say, not necessarily making it a policy, but we're gonna put the selection process in the handbook, and we as a board will, in a consensus, make
Right,
the
this is
decision on,
information that we have,
this
and,
is the process for which, we're gonna go through. So I may have misspoke there as far as the policy thing, but
I mean,
that's what I was
I
getting
don't
at.
know how Mike
Was
feels about that.
documented, we can talk about it, discuss it, agree upon it, or disagree, and move forward with what our vision of that process is like, so.
But I guess my point is that this group should not be dealing with prom. Like, our people,
But we're all.
well, I'm saying, but our people should be happy with what we're doing, that this group doesn't need to deal with prom. You know, we need to be talking higher end, higher level things, because that's what this board's role is in the school. So, and it's giving direction so that administration knows what our goals are. And they work accordingly under those goals. Now, I don't know if it's in the handbook, is that considered policy, or is that just
That'd be outside of policy.
information? This is how we're doing it, and like when we approve the handbook every year, if somebody wants to change it, that's where you would change it, but it wouldn't be a set policy.
And I think that we've had a couple things since I've been on the board that, the community has had very strong feelings about, and, we learned from that, but I feel like we need to be proactive in changes that we make to try and avoid this type of situation where we're, fighting for something that we want, as opposed to, on the front end, being aware and being able to agree up front. And I think in the handbook, at least it's in there, and, everybody's aware of what it is, and if there's a change that, is requested, it has to be requested, and it's a thing then, right? It's not, it can just, happen and, the students alert us of the change.
Well, and, that may be on me or us as a board not communicating or not having that understanding with administration that, no, this is really, there is no wiggle room on this. That they know that in Random Lake, these are things that are important to this community that may not have been important to the community that, some of the staff came from. But, that these are the little things that make us different here. So we don't have staff or administration from this community that have, grown up here and, understand a lot of, so we need to educate them maybe. Maybe that's where we're lacking as to what our feelings really are and how important things are. I know when we went through with the homecoming thing, Mike was like, wow, had no idea that this was, because I don't think anybody's out there trying to be mean or hurt somebody. They think they're doing the right thing. And I understand that administration wants to support these people that are stepping up to do these roles that we don't have a lot of volunteers to do. But I think we need to communicate to administration what's important to our community so that they can relay that into the staff so that we don't get into these predicaments. And I don't think making policy is what we need to do. We need to be better about what is important to us. Now, where do we go from here? I don't know. Prom's what, 2 weeks away?
Well, we have to have a meeting with the kids and the counselors or whatever.
Advisors.
This way's pretty broken, or this year is pretty broken already. We got 9 in a row. I don't understand how we resolve that without.
So you're just saying maybe we could just go back to the traditional, without asking them for
I think the boys have communicated, and I give that Jeffius girl a lot of credit for coming and saying she, benefited from it last year and feels that she supports this now.
But we have kids that did what they were asked to do, and then they've already been told they're gonna do this. You don't wanna take anything away, but then if you both, then you can't really make it fair. I don't know. But you don't wanna take away from the kids that are already appointed, or however. I don't know.
Selected, whoever did the selection.
Well, and I mean, when you look at all of them, all of the applications, that's hard. I would not want to be around that table trying to choose. I don't know, but I mean, if there are legitimate concerns about things that have happened in the past, I mean, it is important to try and improve the process, but I don't know how to fix this one, or this year at least, but it would be nice to do something to improve it this year, so we do have boys represented. And our junior class this year, they're a really active class, I think. They may not be building floats, I don't know, but I think they're really involved in sports and they're doing a lot.
Just throwing this out there, I don't know if this is possible. Is it possible that the boys that applied could be the class could vote on them, since we have a selection of, is it 9 girls? Could all the boys that have applied be voted upon by the class, and then they could be matched with the girls? And I'm just asking, I don't know if that's possible.
what if anybody who applied is on court, and then I think that would still be short boys, right?
Oh, so I don't even know what the numbers are. I didn't do it. Whether or not.
Those are 21 applications and 12 or 13.
56 pages.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I didn't count, I didn't
Yeah, I
get the.
scanned through, but I didn't look at who was boys and who was girls, just.
Well, I don't think we knew.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah.
All that was
Okay.
redacted, so we didn't
That's
know.
why I didn't know.
You didn't miss it, Jen, you didn't know.
But, I mean, then you could add more boys to court by having the whole class list out there for
Well,
people to vote for,
that would
right?
be
And
another,
then
is
have-
it too late to do that? I'm asking, I don't know.
I mean, it addresses concern of people who think they're on, not being on, I think that
And, the other thing that we have to consider, I think, is that, we want to be supportive of the staff too, and, we're not happy with what they decided to do, but do we take credibility away from them as well? I think there's a fine line there to keep morale, because if our staff doesn't trust us, that we can just come in and swoop whatever they, worked however many months on, because we don't like it. I mean, I think there's a fine line there that we have to be careful about too.
I agree. That's why it's a difficult decision.
And this just shows that we're all still learning, every day.
Are there 9 boys that applied? No, we didn't get.
Has there traditionally been a set number of people that are on it? I don't remember 35 years ago if it was a set number always, or if that was just based on votes.
I talked to Rick this morning, and he did, and I think the way it was is, it used to be everyone was on a list, and then X amount and X amount would get there, and whatever that number would set, there would be X amount of boys, X amount of girls, everybody. So a few years ago, they wanted to change the requirements because not everybody was paying their junior fees. There's class fees of $10 for every student. So a few years ago, they did the same voting piece, and then from the voting piece, whoever made those requirements were then allowed to be voted. So if you didn't pay your $10, you couldn't be on court. So, I mean, for me, as I look at going further into next year, do I think, like you said, Rini, is there an opportunity where you can say, hey, here are the minimum expectations, pay your $10, have you done at least this, and now let everybody vote? I think there is a place for next year that does make sense from the feedback we're getting. I don't know what that looks like for this year though, because it's, you know, is prom next weekend or the weekend after? Is it 2 weeks away or 1 week away? Is it 2 weeks? So, I'm not sure what it looks like for this year. That's a little different than, you know, because I think we've heard loud and clear, this process didn't work, but, you know, I think, you know, it's part of changes is sometimes you do something that doesn't work, but then you go back to the drawing board and you find out what's the next thing that works. So this process is, as we heard last year, the feedback was, this wasn't transparent, kids didn't know about it, there was nothing out there. So all those things were rectified, and now that those are rectified, now we're seeing another layer of things that are on there. So, you know, I'm a believer that this is part of the change process doing this, and it's not as comfortable doing it. But what to do for this year, I don't know.
Could you go back to put everybody's name on the list and the 9 that are already there? You get to vote again, those 9 are in there, but then you have 12 couples. And then there's a few more girls that might get voted in, and then, boy, because 12, I feel like we've had 12. I don't know, I mean, at this point, I can't imagine just starting over if you've already told someone that you're on the board.
No, right.
There's an investment there, I think, so.
And honestly, I feel more invested in the group, in the individuals. I would say all 12 that made it, because I took the time to read it. There's some people that took the time, so I struggle with changing the rules of the game after this, but, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm supporting the class advisors, you know, so as we do this, I'm, you know, they know the kids best on this. You know, I guess we have this down as a discussion because I want to get what the thought is here. I don't know how to go forward for this year. I have some thoughts for next year. What's that?
The class advisors, they're kind of stuck in the middle of this right now.
There's a lot stuck in the middle of this, I think.
Can we help take that off of them and just?
I think there's gonna be some, you know, because this came from a group trying to find solutions, this wasn't about somebody trying to be, you know, top down. There were good intentions to it, so no matter how we would change it for this year, would probably, just like anything. If we change it for this year, there's gonna be some people happy, there's gonna be some people upset. If we change it for next year, there's gonna be some people happy, some people upset. It's,
Maybe we do every other year.
Well, last year when the changes were made, the kids were upset. Almost everybody I talked to was upset with the kids. Like, I didn't, so now maybe we side with the kids and do something. I don't know, it's their prom.
It's a great statement, it's their prom.
But there's so many other things involved in prom, like decorating for prom and all of that too, and those are important things
And they
that
have to
get
take
involved in.
responsibility for that.
Yeah, they kinda don't.
They don't.
That's part of the issue.
I know they went to look at the space where they're going for, and decorating takes a lot of time. Four kids signed up to go look to decorate, so, you know, it's tough. I mean, we're in a different time. I think everyone's psychologically in a different time. These came out of really, really good, positive things, trying to show if you work hard, you get rewarded. You know, that's, you wanna talk about values, there's some values that are put into here that I think we're tried to that just probably didn't hit the mark as they were thought it was being put together.
I don't know if we've ever come to a point where we're just unsure where to go.
I mean, I don't know if
Not even in
our parents have ideas. Are we able to hear other ideas, or are we not allowed to do that?
Maybe they'll open tweet up.
I don't know what to.
But our president gets to make the big decisions, right?
I just think that there's just such a fine line, and, you know, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like we're committed this year.
So we don't have boys.
Because we're gonna have 9 girls, that's it.
We're gonna have 18 on court. If we don't do anything, there's gonna be 18 on court, plus the,
Just because they have an escort of their choosing.
And that just raises a real issue too, is that, okay, you have to go through the process, get on court, but then just because you get asked now you're on court, it kind of like defeated the whole process. Right?
Yeah, because you're there and you didn't even apply.
Yeah, you're on.
You may not even get junior, right?
I never thought of that.
Some of these, the girls on court.
Well, they
need
really
people
aren't
who
on court.
Well, okay.
Those 9 are not on court.
But
The escort isn't. I mean, okay, I've been in the district 100 years, so my kids, like, every time there was a court, they had to talk about, are we bringing our own escort, or are we doing the couple thing, or whatever, like, on court. Like, that was a decision that was made so that everybody knew ahead of time. Now, for my younger ones, I'm not sure if that was still the process, but the older ones, who are 30-ish now, that was like something that they discussed as.
I feel like they discussed that for where they're going to dinner, but on court was like, my Grant and Sarah were on court, right? Like, they were paired with whoever was over, like.
Right,
I think
but
that
I'm
they-
saying that wasn't the process always. Like, there was a conversation, if they were going to have their own escort. Not that that person is on court, that's the escort, it's just when the Grand March or whatever they call that, so-and-so's on court escorted by X, not this couple is on court. And the couples in the past were just, straight numbers. Like, who got the most votes, those were the couples, as they just went down, girls and boys.
I guess the simplest I can say right now is I can meet with the advisors and say the board is asking that we find a way to, is there a way to bring an equal number of boys onto the court? And, see where we're at with that. I don't know. We're talking about prom, and I don't get this, but if that's what you'd like me to do, I will take some time and talk about how we can equalize prom. And I don't know what that answer's gonna be, but
I think giving some voice back to the kids would be very helpful.
and I'll find out what I can. I have no experience with prom court in my 10+ years of working in the school, so this is the first for me, so.
Yeah, but these are better issues than, like someone brought a gun to school, right?
I take these every day over
Okay.
guns and drugs and all that other good stuff.
And
yes.
again, I go back to, we have good kids. And those good kids were raised by these good parents. And the parents are the ones that voted us in, and they're our community, and we need to speak for them. And, I feel like, they're the ones that are volunteering at all the, Booster Club and all the concession stands and, doing all the volunteering. I really just feel like we need to listen to them, and I feel like this was a topic where we didn't, and I think we need to. So, I mean, again, it's, nobody's bringing a gun to school, but it's a topic that the community cares about and the kids care about, and so.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll report back by Friday. Is my Friday update will be about prom, I promise.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And then if we would like to talk about handbook and things like that at another date, we can bring that on as a item to discuss with them.
And maybe review what our guidelines are by our association as well.
Okay.
So that we know, so we stay in our own lane.
Right.
I mean,
That's a concern. It is too bad that we have to spend this amount of time on the issue, but it's gotta be done.
right, because it's important to people
Gotta be
and
done.
that's what we need to do. But if we can, like Chris said, be ahead of the game, it'd be better. And, we're gonna do better. We are doing better.
We are doing better, yes.
That's right.
Anything you think means nothing?
Yeah.
Anything that meant nothing in your other districts? Maybe you need to know.
Well, I'm figuring them out. We got it, so we're good.
How many more can there be?
I think I got the 2 we're not messing with, so we're good.
All right, we have notification of paid co-curricular coaches and advisors for 21 and 22, which are senior play setup design, Mike Schwab and Olivia McDonald, and middle school track, Tony Glenboski, head coach, and Bailey Arndt as an assistant. That's just notification, right?
Yes.
Okay. And notification of volunteers for co-curricular, middle school track, Sam Keller, Brett Schoenfield, Tanya Knoll. And we have staff resignation from Miss Hausner. Holy cats, 16 years. She's been here almost as long as me.
Mm-hmm. Add her 4 years as a student, and she got 2 decades.
me, and I've been here 19.
Okay, well, is there a motion to approve Julie's resignation with great thanks for her many years of service to the district?
So,
Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Chris? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a notification of salary and support staff.
Can I ask a question? So what, like that, this is bad timing, right? Like the schedule is like registration's happening and stuff, like is there ever like a backup?
The job's already posted. I think we have 7 applicants. So counseling is a position. There's a lot of people that want to get into it. So yeah, no, I mean, Julie was great. She did a fantastic job, and luckily there's many counselors that are looking for a job and I think we offer the things that we're doing around career and college readiness and stuff like that makes us a pretty appealing destination. So
And
I
she's
feel
not
confident.
leaving today.
No, yeah,
It'll be-
this is at the July 1st. So she's here for the rest of the day.
Okay, salaried and support staff notification, Cassandra Schuler, 1 year. She is resigning. We thank her for her service. And a new salaried staff position. What is this?
Tracy Kozowski is our new school psych. Very excited. Comes and has a bunch of little school and big school experience and really help with a lot of our, as we talk about social emotional, where our kids are, how we can build some systems around that. I think she's going to really help our team. So very excited about that hire.
Right. Informational items.
Okay, pull out your calendars. Do one of the next 2 Mondays work for us to do a retreat? Either May 2nd or May 9th.
Definitely not May 9th.
Not May 9th. Otherwise, we can do a non-Monday if we would like.
Next Monday
Second,
works.
right?
Second
Yeah,
is
it'd be
good.
That's
nice.
next Monday?
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, I
It
know.
starts on Sunday.
You said ninth and second? and
Second, 9th, I mean, we could do the 23rd, it'd be nice to get done, now I look at it and,
Well, but if, yeah, to get it done, you said like the questionnaire or whatever?
right,
I don't wanna do the 23rd.
how's the second?
Second,
Sorry.
second,
Oh,
May 2nd?
yeah, that works.
Okay, we're all looking at you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, we just have, 23rd to be
Okay.
tricky.
Second's good.
Good, May 2nd, May 2nd. Amy?
Several kids to get in different directions, how far away are we going?
We could do it locally here, we could do, I mean, I'm trying to think where else we could go. Usually we like to go somewhere off-site, but we could go somewhere closer. Which way are you taking kids?
Just random and Batavia, so that's not too bad, but I just, if we do it a little later, it'd probably be easier for me to get them there and then
Is
maybe
Creekside
pick
closed
them
on
up.
Mondays?
They're closed on Mondays.
Oh.
Yeah, they are closed on
Yeah.
Mondays.
Well.
We'd have to ask for a bartender. Or Matt.
I still got my license.
Alright. Should we, since it's kind of a quick turnaround, should we just do it on site here, and I can ask, actually, we catered in the local Mexican food place, does a really nice job, so I can do that if one wants. Unless we want to go off-site, you tell me.
Or
Anything?
Amy's just good too.
What's that?
Amy, she always does a good job for us too.
Right, oh yeah, I mean, we could just do that too. Yep. So should we do it here on May 2nd?
Sure.
Okay. What time do we want to start? 3 or 2 hours?
7 o'clock work for you, Amy, or
Oh, yeah, 6 o'clock is gonna be fine. It's
Oh.
just
6 to 8?
5 o'clock would be fine.
Yeah, just start
Okay.
putting naps in here
Go.
on the agenda. Nap time. Everybody get out their
2
nap.
Mondays in a row, let's make sure we don't make it to 9 o'clock next week too.
First grade did petition me for nap time,
Right, I'm with
Nice.
them.
and their persuasiveness.
I'm with Dave Pfeiffer here.
Yeah.
4:30 comes real quick.
Okay,
So, I'm sorry, 6 o'clock, is that what we do?
yeah, 6 o'clock next week, Monday.
I vote Mexican. You can vote in
Can we go there too?
I might check to see if they would have a space to go. Let me-
that. Back room, yeah.
Do they have a back room?
There's a back room at the Mexican restaurant,
Okay.
Oh,
I think.
yeah,
Place
just
used
go
to be
right there, that's right.
Right in Randon?
Sure.
Let me see what I can do. We'll see what we can do.
Did you save the phone number?
Yeah, because I called, nobody answered, I had to go there anyways, so I'm not good at answering calls. Legislative update, we didn't have a legislative update. Alumni Foundation, one of the next 2 months, I'm going to have Todd Miller come and present. There's some really cool things happening around Ram Nation. There's a survey coming out right now that came out today. Today's Monday, right? It's been a long time. Yeah, so a survey came out from anyone that we have that has an email address, talking about just trying to get a larger and larger network is what they're doing. So they put some resources behind this. It's a group that has everyone that's graduated from here since like 1955. They took those names, put it into this database, and then it pops out email addresses, and then we're trying to populate our alumni network. So it's really exciting for a district our size to be doing something like this. Todd has been doing a fantastic job, and I'll have him present. But if you hear something about Ram Nation, yes, that's another thing that we're spinning gears on. And then the other thing, and I will have this later, but get ready to hear about our Rambo Jumbotron. There was a extremely large donation given to the district on Friday. I'll wait till I have some more specifics. But we may have the largest Jumbotron in the state in our gym for next year.
That took some excitement.
Yes, so yes, like somewhere close to $250,000.
On that? I'm sorry.
Can you put it on eBay and put the referendum?
Yeah, really.
I know, so So yeah, it's, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it was, very generous
Yep.
individual, so,
That's a lot.
yeah. And that's all my updates.
All right, we have a closed session on the agenda for tonight. We need a motion to go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 19, Section 1985 1E, to discuss the possible purchase of public properties. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Chuck and Katie? This requires a roll call vote. Start with Rini. Chuck?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Matt?
Yes.
Katie? All right, we are in closed session. Thank you for hanging out. You people that made it through the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Woo!
Lee, why don't you tear down and get out of here?
We won't be taking